Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is John Ellis with Alex, special guest Annabelle Howard, and this is the Friday edition of Office Hours. It's going to be a really weird one. I know I say that every time, but we've had a really cool week. Lots of interesting stuff happening. I haven't had any time to actually put together a real broadcast, which is funny because we're going to be talking about production broadcasts and what it takes to put them together. So without further ado, I'm not even going to talk about sponsors. We're going to deal with that within the show. So, hey Alex, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I just got off a show like 2 hours ago, so for those of you that saw Chef Dennis's show, I'm back.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, Alex, you've been making the rounds, haven't you?
I have, and it's good. It'll get better because school is slowing down for me, so it'll be okay. But yeah, this week has been just like so much everywhere. Same for you, but mine is more school so much everywhere.
Yeah.
Not so much this stuff, but yeah, it's been a good Friday.
I agree. It has been, even though this week's been insane. But let's bring in the guest. Let's bring in the star. This is Annabelle Howard. Hello, Annabelle. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. Hi.
Hi. So the reason that this particular Friday show is strange and a little less produced than normal is because we had a blast the other day, didn't we?
Oh, yes, we did. 47 minutes of it.
Was that the actual count?
There were a couple of seconds as well.
All right.
47 too, I think.
If
Not that I pay any attention, you know.
Well, okay, you and I were a little bit too busy, but without putting you too much on the spot, do you want to give everybody really quick what happened and what it was? I mean, just let me say this first, everybody. It's called Macbeth Goes Social. I'm going to let Annabelle explain what it was. It was a huge collaborative process. It included a bunch of people, took a long time to put together, but Alex and mine's involvement was only recent. So I'd like Annabelle to explain what happened, what it was, and how beautiful it was, and the reactions that we've seen so far. So Annabelle, take it away, and then tell us to take it back anytime you're ready, okay?
Okay. Well, thanks. Macbeth Goes Social is a project that I'm lucky enough to do because I got a grant from a foundation in Texas, the Dudley T. Doherty Foundation. And for 30 years now, I've been working on making classic theatre accessible and relevant in the classroom and packaging it so that a non-specialist can do these plays, because there aren't enough drama teachers in schools. So we've got to make things that, you know, other regular language arts teachers can do. And so it got to the point where I made my plays into digital plays, and I had a grant to test that out. I did a Spanish classic play, La Vida es Sueño, and now I'm doing Macbeth, and I'm taking it social, seeing what we can do in the Hangout space. When I wrote the grant, I honestly wasn't all that sure about how these communities and Hangouts worked. So it really is sort of an improvisation in education. I want everybody to show up, you know, and I say yes to everybody who wants to be involved. And then the job is to build and recognize each other's skills and build on them and make each other look good. So those are sort of the rules of the game. The kids we have about almost 400 kids around the world now. I think 4 or 5 countries. I can't honestly track it. A lot of these people have not been in Hangouts before, so some of my time is spent, you know, getting them up to speed on what a Hangout is, how you get in, etc. And we've started, since it is a collaboration, I'm trying to teach the kids what it is to collaborate online at the same time as, you know, impart content. So we've begun with a series that I'm calling Hello Hangouts, and it's quite simple. You just show up and you say hello. And it's the beginning of a collaboration, you know, between the kids. And once the kids have introduced themselves, then the other kids watching sort of feel they know them a little bit, and they're more inclined to collaborate with them. So I've been doing that, and then this week they began looking at my digital radio play, and I did the first in a series of bringing experts in, which was the big crazy show that we did together. And it was called Recipe for Learning and A Feast in the Castle. And my feeling is that there are an infinite number of ways to approach a classic play, and we should try as many of them as we can, because you never know what's going to catch fire with people. I was talking with 10-year-olds in Maine, and this little shy girl, couldn't really open her up. I'm trying to find out what's already captured your imagination. What do you love to do when no one's telling you what to do? And she said she loved cooking. And I thought, gosh, that's something that a lot of people love. And if you don't love cooking, you certainly love eating. So it's gonna be a relatable way in. And of course, there's a feast. Why didn't I think of that earlier? So really got the idea from a 10-year-old, to be honest.
Nice.
And then had the good fortune of meeting Larry, and Larry introduced me to Aslan. And it's been about, I suppose, 2 months on and off of planning that 47-minute, 2-second spot. And I thought we should ask the question, what did the Macbeths eat at the feast? And do it in a dramatic way. And so we needed to set the scene geographically, which you did beautifully with Google Maps.
Right.
We needed to bring up some artist renderings, because there were no photographs at the time that the castle was, there in Shakespeare's day, nor in King Macbeth's day, the original. So we did what the Common Core, for example, is asking, and that is, really mix it up in terms of images, get kids to be very literate in analyzing visuals and media. So we did all that, and we had voiceover from a wonderful dramaturg at the Yale School of Drama.
Annabelle, I want to interject.
Got into cooking.
Annabelle, I want to interject right here, because I know you're talking a lot in depth about the entire process, but I think for people that haven't been involved in this, haven't been embedded in it, we need to back up for a second and really explain what the goal was, okay? Because I've heard people look at it and say, well, that's really nice, and there's a bunch of classrooms together, but I want to be clear. I want people to understand and this. So give me 1 second here. Also, just for those of you in the audience, I'm noticing right now that YouTube is, for some reason, we're not having great ability getting our pipeline into YouTube. I don't know whether the servers are having an issue. Everything's good on this end, but it looks like the stream is running a little slow, so I'm not sure what's going on. I apologize if the quality's low. Set the stream to 480p or 720, and it should the frame rate should be better. This is another reason why we don't rely solely on YouTube for broadcast. What I want to explain, Annabelle, really quickly is that, first of all, the educator here, and yeah, I switched to a full screen, everybody. I want to do this. Annabelle is an educator, and she has been working for years on these things, this process. The what you watched with Macbeth Goes Social is completely in line with Common Core education practices. That's the point. So it may look fun and it may look like just a disorganized mess, but the truth is that's hardcore learning being done. That's the evolution of learning. So for those of us who grow up in the institutionalized system, we don't look at it that way. We look at it like some kind of field trip or some kind of fun little thing that the kids did. No, what Annabelle has put together here is a bridging of modern technology, of classic educational curriculum, and new ways to bridge the two so that kids are learning in a completely different fashion. And I'm not even qualified to make those statements, but what I want everyone to understand here is this is a lot bigger, a lot more involved, and a lot more valuable than simply getting classrooms together and having some fun with a play. There was a solid educational plan here, and everything that was done had been planned, I don't know how many months, years in advance, so that we were all reading from a run of show. Annabelle had put together a beautiful document that listed to me everything I needed. The reason I was able to put this together with only 4 days notice is because she had been doing years of work to make it this simple for me. So I want to make that very clear. Is there anything in that, Annabelle, that I missaid or that you would like to clarify?
I think something that I did that I haven't seen done before is because I did really work carefully with everybody around how many minutes they were going to speak, and we had a limited time. The kids were pulled in off the playground in Argentina 10 minutes early. It had to be really tight, this show, and I wanted it to go all the way to the end because that's where the kids got hands-on. That's where they were going to end up tasting this foul and fair dessert, and we wanted them to speak about that and really experience it all the way through. So it was very tightly scripted, and as a result, I was able to go in and take vocabulary because half the kids spoke English, half of them had English as a second language, and I went through and picked out vocabulary words that were going to be used in the Hangout, and I gave those to the kids and put them in the event description, which I've never seen before.
Right.
So that was something, and also we listed the ingredients that were going to be used, but we didn't give a recipe and we didn't say what was going to be done. So we sort of, intrigued them with that. And
Right.
It's funny, I spoke with the Argentinians the day after and said, because it was, I think there's some of them, it was their first Hangout ever. Some of them had done a mystery Hangout. And they just loved it. They loved that experience, John. I don't know if you saw that Hello Argentina Hangout yet, but
No. But,
they were so enthusiastic, and they had picked up a lot of vocabulary. And I said, "What is a hangout?" And because it's a new word for them, what's a hangout? And I said, "But then hang on, wait a minute, what's a Google Hangout?" And so they said, "A Google Hangout is where you have fun. A Google Hangout is where you meet people. A Google Hangout has surprises." It's just brilliant. I loved it. I felt like, okay, that's what I wanted. And then they gave back vocab. I said, "What words do you remember from it?" So I mean, there's obviously a novelty factor with Hangout,
Sure.
and that wears off. And it's like bringing the clown, the circus into the classroom. It's great. It's
Sure.
a day off, not school, etc.
Sure.
But as you said, it was school, and I'm just really interested in making it as useful time as possible, not just talking heads, although I'm going to have a few talking heads. Most of what I'm doing, I'm going to have kids speaking. I don't hear kids' voices enough here, and they need to learn how to speak and listen. And this is why drama is so important, because it puts kids in the moment together. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want to see more of. And it's really fun to tell them they're going to be on YouTube, etc. That's sort of exciting. That too will wear off. But what I'm hoping, especially that cooking one, and I see it already in the numbers of views, that they are going to be showing that, or they already have, shown that YouTube to their parents, to their grandparents, to their friends down the road, to their cousins. And so there's an enormous value to it, to be in it, because you've got to be live and present and alert. Yes. You've got to follow instructions. You've got to hear people with weird accents and all of that. That's real world. And then afterwards, you can watch it over and over and keep noticing new things, and you get savvy at watching video. Yeah. You start noticing things you didn't notice before. This is what we need the kids to do, is to be a little bit more critical, to watch things more than once, and to speak about what they see.
Absolutely.
Not just be passive. So I think that there's tremendous potential afterwards. The Italian teacher, for instance, who's in this, we have a fabulous class of 14, 15-year-olds in Italy. And she said that at their parent-teacher conferences, after we did a hangout with them, the parents came rushing in. They all watched this video. I mean, I think that's the most watched one. It's like, I don't know what it was, 300 and something people viewed it. But she said it was because the parents loved it so much, and they came in and they told her, this is what we want our kids doing.
Stop right there,
Yeah.
Annabelle. And I'm sorry, you're talking a lot. It's great. You're being like me today. It's awesome. But I want to interject some things, because you're saying a whole bunch of stuff at once, and I want people to have time to grasp all of what's going on here. So back up a little bit, because I want to get Alex involved with the communication aspect of this. Okay. You brought in you mentioned timing. That you brought in a classroom from Argentina. We had a classroom from Maine. We had a classroom from a homeschool with Aslan Bloor in the UK, correct?
Correct.
And all of these things needed to be coordinated between times of schools, including all of the people that were involved with the show. So, Alex, I'm just want to bring you back into this, and you could take it any direction you want to go with this. But my question on this, or my statement to this is, gee, there's a whole lot of real world practical value here, isn't there, in teaching kids how to collaborate like this, how to be on time, work together. I mean, drama, of course, but everything we've packed onto it, that Annabelle has packed onto it with the technology, is, I would say, is teaching kids the information they need to know to actually succeed in the real world. And I'll just leave it at that. Do you agree?
I do. I have had a few conversations with Annabelle previously that the most difficult part of it is trying to analyze the effects. That has been that's the hardest part. How do we show that it is one of the better ways to connect education with application, which is, that's what I'm trying to do with Glass in the Class. But if I bring it to my advisor, how do I show that adding this application component really does help the learning of my students? All I have are my students sitting there and being like, yeah, that was really helpful. So I think that's the next. Annabelle has taken us this far in giving us this, she's shown us how to do it, how to bring Hangouts in, how to bring technology into education. The next big step is going to be, how do we show that this is making a difference, that application is making education better, that our current system isn't working. And because no matter how many times it has been said by how many people, we still have the same system and it doesn't seem to change. So that's the next big step with this whole, okay, Annabelle has taken us this far. How do we take it one step further? How do we show that this is where education needs to go? On a different note, I do want to do a couple shout outs to our audience members because they are keeping me entertained.
Good.
Larry Fernillier is out there. Hey there, Larry.
Hey, Larry.
He does say YouTube is currently experiencing some issues. So it's not us, it's YouTube.
Good, because my bit rate out of here sucks, and I was about to call Comcast and complain, but it looks to me like it's the YouTube. So thank you, Larry, for that update.
Yeah, apparently it's the YouTubes. Todd is out there, loyal, faithful Todd, and he said, Shakespeare is always relevant, Annabelle. Kudos to you and Big Fun for bringing it to the youth of today and leaders of tomorrow. So thanks, Todd. And then I did see that Ron Snaberger checked in. I haven't seen any comments from him yet. If there are others out there, if you just want to shout out a hey, I can do shout outs to you.
How is that again, Alex?
I know.
Here, wait. Again, now you're full screen.
Never heard the hey boy, hey. Me and my sister do that all the time. If a hot guy walks by.
Hey boy, hey.
We do it under our breath. We're like, hey boy, hey. That's what we. Oh, and Todd mentioned when you introduced Annabelle, I did a little horn noise, and Todd was like, "Who did that?" It was me.
Nice.
I'm really tired, Todd. This is what happens.
Oh my gosh, we are all. I just want to say this. All of us, Todd, you, me, Annabelle, Larry, everybody that was involved is tired because that's what it takes to put something like this together. Right? We haven't turned this into an easy system yet. We are trying to do proof of concept. We're trying to get funding. We're trying to get big-ass corporations to come in and recognize the value. And if you don't want to recognize the value to the children, recognize the value to your big-ass corporation. Okay? Because what you're doing is, and come on, everybody who knows me knows that I'm pretty blunt about this stuff. Corporations need to increase their brand recognition and grow their business. That's great. We need kids to have good education. So let's work together. I want your money. You want branding. No reason to make bullshit about that. Okay. We are now in a position to be able to marry these two in a beautiful way. We can marry education. We can marry any kind of philanthropic kid effort, educational effort, world effort. It doesn't really matter. But we have technology that lets us bridge the previously unrelated and let everybody collaborate in this way, right? So we can take the School of Rock and combine it with Procter & Gamble somewhere in Arkansas and do this wonderful thing where we bring people food, we introduce them to new services, and we help promote a brand, okay? And to me, I don't see any reason why those three things can't work together. Annabelle, Alex, you disagree, which you might. Alex, we never disagree. So, you know.
Oh, no. Always think alike. No, but in this case, I do. I mean, I am always hopeful that eventually we'll have the win-win-win. The win for the brand, the win for the individual, and the win for education. I'm hopeful for it. I don't think it's happened yet, but
yeah,
I hope that it will.
I agree.
In terms of sponsored materials in schools, they are very controversial, and there can be a win-lose situation. My partner and life partner and business partner, Forrest Stone, used to run the sponsored materials division for Scholastic. And that was 20 years ago. So he has a lot of experience in what's tolerated as a sponsored event in education and what isn't.
Sure.
He has it's too bad he couldn't be here today. But you can go wrong. You definitely can go wrong. It's sensitive.
Sure.
And you need to be knowledgeable. You really do. So
there you go.
I used to write sponsored materials for Scholastic as well.
Well, you just hit a very important part there. That you, even with the best of intention, it can go wrong without understanding what you're doing there. And so let me back away from that. What Forrest was doing 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and the types of sponsorships that made sense. Not that I would know, but I'm gonna think that with the way things have shifted, with the shift to being in front of your brand, removing the anonymity, transparency, authenticity, that we would see a shift in that relationship between the brand and education, and I think a better way, a more open way to help each other. And so I'm really, the reason I'm saying these things is, if you, the educator, can be in control of that relationship, right, through this kind of an activity, through a hangout, right, work with the brand and say, look, this is okay, this is not okay, how does it work for you? Let's come up with something that works for everybody here without misrepresentation, without causing bad feelings, and let's use this medium that levels the playing field for us, right, so that you're not competing with some other endeavor that has a distinct advantage over you, right? And I think that's the beauty of this system. I think that's different than the kinds of relationships that existed with brands and education before. Do you think, or do you think Forrest is going to say, no, John, it's all the same? Nothing's changed. No,
things are definitely changing. Okay. I don't think we're on firm ground yet, so I don't feel like I can make any kind of categorical statement. But I'm just experimenting. I consider what I'm doing an improv. I really am open to change and new ideas and new ways of doing things all the time. It's very funny. Can I just tell a little story? I got a new idea, and it was from you, Alex.
Please.
Yeah. And I'll tell you how the Hangout is informing me as well, because, education is not a one-way street. It has been a one-way street where, you've got the chalk and talk teacher at the front, and information goes in one direction, and then it gets regurgitated if you're lucky. That's what we're trying to change. And when I say it's an improv, that makes everybody equal. I'm also a player in here, and I'm learning too, and I make that very clear. And I'm learning from the Hangouts. I think that there's tremendous value for the kids watching their own Hangout. There was also tremendous value for me. And I did a Hangout with kids in, I think it was South Carolina, where our Hello Hangouts to Carolina. And no, we were doing, I know what it was. the teacher in South Carolina had a connection in Glasgow, and she said there are 3 people in Glasgow who are willing to record themselves with the Glaswegian accent doing the first 12 lines of Macbeth. Would you like it? I said, yes, please. So we did it, and then the kids heard that, and then they did a reading themselves, and they got to see that there are choices and there are different accents and whatnot. And they were just a little stiff at the beginning, as you are. And so I sort of forgot I was in a hangout. I thought I was in that sort of closed door situation you get in a classroom where no one's ever going to prove, what you said or did, because there's no cameras. Suddenly there's cameras. I forgot about the cameras. I just got into it with the kids, and so I said, look, you 3, you're the witches. I said, you're the bad guys. You're the bullies. You're the ones who love to stir it up, to make trouble, to see someone going in the wrong direction. You think that's hilarious. Because one of the kids had laughed and went, ooh, I shouldn't do that. I said, no. I said, that's your point of view. You're in character. You think it's hilarious to mess with someone, to take this successful soldier here and mess with him. You think that's funny. You're those kind of people. And, and then they sort of loosened up and they got into it a bit better. And, and that was the end of that. But then the next day, I think, I saw Alex post it and go, oh, my God, she cracks me up. Look what she said. She said, you're the mean girls, or whatever it was I said. You're those kind of girls. And I thought, oh, heavens, I did say that. And then I realized, I felt a little bad because I thought, God, what did I do there? And didn't really give it as much thought and context as I perhaps should. And then I thought, well, it's not too late. And it suddenly dawned on me from your comment that there's a way of looking at Macbeth that I think it's fair to say that the witches bullied and Macbeth became a bully. Afterwards, he became more vicious, and his wife was verbally abusing him. She was saying, when he's saying, oh, I don't think I can do it. He's my cousin. He's in my house. I can't stab him. And she was saying, well, you said you could, then you were a man, So I thought something occurred to me because Alex had watched The Hangout, which I thought, no one was watching. And then she commented on it. And then I learned more about it. And what I'd like to do is, if there's anyone interested, is get someone who really knows the play well in The Hangout. Maybe my husband, he went to the Yale School of Drama. He's a playwright. And maybe I can persuade him. and maybe we can get someone who really understands the bullying dynamic. Because here's the thing. The kids are very drawn to the witches. And I said to the Italian girls, why do you want to be a witch? Oh, I like to dance. I thought, you're not getting it. That's a part of it, yeah, but you're not getting what's going on deeper than that, what the consequences are of what they say and do to Macbeth. And so I thought maybe we could, if there is an expert on bullying who would like to come in, we can do that. And then some of the older kids, not the 10-year-olds perhaps, I don't know. When you cast a play, there's a thing called typecasting. And as a teacher, when you know your kids and you trust them and, it's not a one-off like me, just some stranger appearing, but when you're a constant presence in the kids' lives, you can do something like that. You can typecast. You can put some kids in there who are a little bit of they bully a little bit, or they're the popular kids, and sometimes they can be unkind. And you can use the play as a vehicle without getting personal, but talk about what happens after kids get in a group, 3 people, and then pick on someone. What happens? Yeah. That's why we need these classic plays, because they do deal with really deep human stories, and they tell the story in conversation. And so it's a very compelling form.
Wow. Annabelle, so you just said something, and again, not the educator, so I'm going to throw this out there, and you can shake your head and go, oh my God, no. But so you just said you can typecast and pick individuals and put them in roles. What if you did the opposite? A person who is bullying and a person who is being bullied, and you reverse those roles, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what you do. You play around with that kind of thing. because then they get in the skin. Because I mean, when you're doing drama, nobody thinks they're bad.
Right. Right.
Macbeth doesn't, you know, I mean, he has his doubts, of course, you know, he wonders in certain moments, but ultimately we all think we're the hero, don't we?
Right. And
so that's how you teach point of view.
Thank you. That was what I was looking for. Teaching point of view is that kids are either going to learn this in life lessons, maybe the hard way, maybe an easy way, or we teach them by example. And you've given, you're taking classic stuff here. These, like you said, or like Todd said earlier, that Shakespeare is timeless because you can take the lesson and apply it to any point in human history. It's about human beings. It's not about when, it's about who, right? And we apply these lessons, but if we can immerse the kids in the lesson, then they're going to learn it and take it home. If they listen to a teacher drone on about it, who cares, right?
Right. It's got, well, the beauty of theatre is that it starts out being owned by the playwright. They write the script, they own it. The playwright hands it over to the perhaps producer or director. Then, unfortunately, the playwright has to relinquish control. It's hard for the playwright, but they give it to the director, and they have to trust the director. And the director's job is to give that play to the actors, and then finally to walk off stage him or herself. And then it's the job of the actors to give the play to the audience.
Yep, that's a beautiful transfer there.
There's a real chain effect there that you really have to get inside it in order to really give it away. Yes. You can't really give something away that you don't own, in a way. Agreed. So it's not going to be very convincing. Just to speak briefly to Alex's point, when I did about measuring outcome, I'm very interested in that because obviously as an educator I care, what happened. But also as somebody who runs a non-profit, I have to report to the foundation, and measured outcome is something that they like. When I did my first play here, turned it digital at the Spanish Classic, I used monkey survey, and I gave them monkey surveys each week, and the kids and the teachers. And one of the questions I asked, and that was not Hangouts, that was not going social, but that was just using a digital play that they had access to online 24/7. And these were kids in a Title I school, 8, 9, and 10 years old, many of them, living in poverty according to the socioeconomic rules of, calculating Title I. And they were in the town of New Britain, which is at the very bottom in terms of testing in Connecticut, which has the largest achievement gap in the country, right? So in terms of testing scores, bottom of the bottom. And I took 8, 9, and 10 years old, those kids, 3 teachers who'd never done a play before, and gave them a, 17th century Spanish classic play. And the monkey survey that I sent out the first Friday asked these kids, did you watch the play at home? 70% of the kids self-reported that they had played this digital play at home with family. That's an outcome. Because all those little picky measures, I don't always trust them, but I understand what that means. That's a real outcome. If you've got a kid, 8, 9, 10, getting their parents in a poverty situation to sit down and listen to a classic play at home, to me, you can't fool with that statistic. I couldn't fool with it. If 70% of them are doing that just says so much to me. So I want to ask these kids, I know already the Italians for sure, South Carolina I think too, but it's so important to bring the parents in. Once the parents enjoy, appreciate, start feeling proud of the kids' achievement, big things happen.
Yeah, that's a little bit.
Parents are more inclined to go in and talk to the teacher. They don't feel so excluded. They feel they can understand what's going on at school because they saw it. Now, another thing I want to do is there's a remedial class of 8th graders in upstate New York. And they don't like language arts. They're in the remedial class. They certainly don't like Shakespeare. and not inclined to really enjoy this. But the teacher very wisely sort of spread out the resources for these kids and let them choose what they liked. Well, part of this is that the play has been translated into Arabic, Chinese, Italian, and Spanish. Well, it turns out 2 of the remedial kids speak fluent Arabic, right? One is from Jordan, one is from Egypt. And they just sat down and loved it. They'd never had the chance to read anything in Arabic before in school. And they suddenly sat down there, read the whole play, my adaptation, translated into Arabic, started getting excited. The other kids wanted to know, what's this? What's this? And so we're going to try and get a performance of a scene between Lady Macbeth and Macbeth in Arabic with these kids. And I'm going to invite their parents into the hangout.
John, we can't hear you.
Thanks. My bad. That's what I get for trying to pull up media while I'm listening to you guys talk. Do you want to tack on anything to what Annabelle was saying related to education?
I just with the parent situation, that's very different for me. I don't have to placate parents, which I mean, obviously, college students still go home and talk to their parents about what they're learning. But I really, right now, the way that I measure the difference of what I'm doing is I just sit down and personally ask my students after every single class in the class that I did. I asked them, was that helpful? What did that do for you? What did you take away from it? What could be changed? Because I mean, obviously they're old enough to voice their own opinions. They can talk about what went well and what didn't work for them. And I did get a couple of really nice emails and written letters from my students saying how much of a difference it did make for them in the class in general, because it just made it, they were like, I was just expecting this to be another lecture. And I'm really sick of that. And then I got introduced to this idea of Google Glass and meeting people in class, and it was really cool. And it really, I mean, I had one student that's like, I'm going to go make YouTube videos as a chef. I was like, cool, send me the links. Like, I'm here to help you any way I can. And it's like, yeah, those are very individualized, but that's right now, that's the best measurement that I can do. But it is interesting trying to think about how is this working and how can I make it better?
That's right.
That's always, that's always at the, if you're doing anything in a classroom, if you're doing anything as an educator, I feel like that's what you're always thinking about. What am I doing? How is it working? How can I make it better? Those are the steps that you go through. And if you're not going through those steps, then I don't think that you should continue to be in education, because it means that you're bored. And if you're bored, your students sure as hell are bored.
Whew, some big words there. I'm not going to argue with any of them. Well said, beautifully said. There's a lot of stuff that I wanted to cover on this, and Alex, to your point, Annabelle is doing exactly the same thing. She's just using the Hangout to ask the questions of the kids, because you're talking with the kids and getting that feedback after the event, right? And you had shown me earlier, Annabelle, some press and some stuff when you had done this before, and how one of the news stations had picked it up, and we've got that film footage. Anybody wants to know, go to Big Fun Education, okay, .org, correct? Go to the .org site and watch the footage, read the stuff. I mean, there's a lot to understand about what Annabelle's put together here. When she says digital plays, that means a lot more than what you're thinking. This is an entire setup here for children to listen to a radio version of a play that's been done by professional actors. All of this has been done and put in a structure that works with Common Core standards. This is not some fly by the seat of your pants thing. This is very detailed, very calculated, very well done, modern education using cutting edge technology. Nobody's doing this, but the results that we measure, the results that we see are insane. If you can't tie this together, and here, we're going to go into a monologue just for a second. If you can't connect the dots here as business owners, as parents, as educators, as whoever you are, that when you put when you take education that's been boring and stagnant for years and you modernize it, you engage people with it, you make it collaborative, you make it fun, you make it big fun education. When you do that, everybody wins. The parents win because they give a shit. The kids win because their parents give a shit. The kids also win because they learn something. The kids are having fun. The teachers start having fun. The teachers see that the kids care, that their kids are learning. Now the teachers have more passion. There's a ripple effect that happens here that's a no-brainer. So we need to make this happen. And if you want to blow off the educational aspect, if you don't care about the bigger picture for the planet, for the people, and all you care about is your profit margin, I understand that. There's a big portion of modern America that only cares about their profit margin. Don't worry, we've got you covered. Because this whole system is designed to allow corporate brands to sponsor these educational efforts, and at a fraction of the cost of what it would be to do it with a big network like NBC. I love NBC, don't get me wrong. I think you guys put out great stuff. But at $100,000 a produced minute, that ain't going to fly for us down here in the web world. It doesn't work for educators either. This is about the democratization of broadcasting, collaboration, education done better and at a level where we open it globally to everyone involved and everyone wins. If you want to know more about how to do this and how to work with Annabelle, get in touch with us through SEOwise. Get in touch with Annabelle through Google+. It's not just us. There's Larry Fenelier, there's Todd LeBeau, there's Ifat Cohen. There's a whole bunch of it. It's a giant group of people that all agree and believe in what we're doing here. Okay? And I know we got a bunch of them watching right now. This is bigger than what we've done. What we did was an example, and everybody needs to understand that Annabelle Howard was the mastermind behind all of this. Okay? Everybody else played a small role. She was the director. And we all take our cues from her because the educational piece is the most important. So we'd like to do more of these things. And yes, this is just a big giant promotion for the entire thing. But this is how passionate we are about this. I've been working behind the scenes. Alex and I have been working behind the scenes on this for a long time, not on just Macbeth Goes Social, but with Annabelle, with other educators, other people trying to bridge these worlds, trying to make everybody see how it works together in such a great way. So this is big. This is awesome. This is much. This is the evolution of education, and we need your help. So take this footage. Share it, distribute it, put it up on other servers, do what you want with it because we need response. We need the feedback. That's what this is about. All right, monologue done. Back to this shot. All right.
John, I just want to tell you something which I don't think I've said before. It's sort of neglected to tell you that something that's interesting that's happened. When you mentioned NBC, it jogged my memory. In my digital play for Macbeth, the person reading the stage directions is our CBS news anchor in Connecticut, Kevin Hogan. So we've got a completely professional voice, and he's CBS. Well, when we put the last play, the Spanish play, on in New Britain, NBC came out to film the story, and the journalist there, who's a fabulous news anchor for NBC, his name is Brad Drazen. He liked it so much, he said, I'll be in one of your radio plays.
Great.
So he is in the next one I'm doing, which is Who Has Seen the Wind. So he's NBC. And then our ABC person, Ann Nyberg, who's at what would it be, W something, New Haven.
We'll get all these. We'll get the sponsors.
I wrote this, Who Has Seen the Wind, I wrote, took that poem because it's a Common Core poem that's, third, fourth graders are supposed to do. And I've written like a 10-minute play that's set in a news station, and it's the news manager that comes in, the station manager, and says, look, we've got to, get our ratings up. The weather segment is just not playing well. So I'm bringing in a poet. And you, Dan, the weatherman, who is Brad Drazen from NBC, you are going to do the weather with Christina Rossetti. So, we teach the kids all about how that works out. But Christina Rossetti comes in and hears them talking about growing an audience, and she says, oh, that's so poetic. So she's hearing the world through poetic ears. Anyway, the second act of it goes live, and they do the segment Poetic Weather, #PoeticWeather. And the person in the news desk is Newsy Susie, and she's our ABC person. So I've got a little grant from our regional bank, People's United Community Foundation, gave me a grant. So I may be hoping to bring that to Hangouts, and I would love to see Newsy Susie or Dan Dan the weatherman give the kid, once they hear the play with their voices. And then those people come out from the shadows and actually say, well, I actually do work in media, and here's how the weather show gets put together, etc. It's compelling, it's memorable learning. So that just jogged my memory. I didn't tell you that I've got CBS, NBC, and ABC involved.
Well, now, to be fair, you have mentioned those stations, and I want to be fair to the networks. They've, my understanding when we started talking a long time ago is that they had, come out, film stuff. You've got a lot of people that have come in and donated time. You've mentioned Emmy award-winning actors and actresses, and I mean, let me make this clear. There is a giant group of people that has donated an immense amount of time to make these things come together. That's what has to happen, right? That's how these things start. And if you want to take a moment and just mention names, please do. Are there any other people you would like to call out and recognize?
I'm bad at names, but one person I'm particularly excited about, he's going to be coming in to do a theatre game workshop for Macbeth Goes Social, perhaps next week or the week after. He's in LA right now. He's an extraordinary young actor who just graduated from the Yale School of Drama, and while he was a graduate student there at Yale, he understudied Paul Giamatti in Hamlet at the Yale Rep. That's how good he is. And he is playing Hamlet in our Hamlet, if that makes any sense.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Did the radio play. He gave a performance, and we asked him just off the cuff, because we like to embed the original as well so they can compare my adaptation with the original. And we said, Chris, can you remember that speech? And he just didn't even need the book. And it was a year, almost a year later. He's just an extraordinary actor.
Wow.
You're going to see a lot of him. There's things coming up that I know he's doing. He's at Williamstown this summer, but he's going to do a hangout next week or week after, and he's worked with kids his whole life. He loves it. His mum is a director. His mum actually directed my son in a play. You're absolutely right. This is huge in real world people, in IRL people, and Google Plus people.
It is. It is.
It's just Daz. I just can't even keep up with it. But that's great. Yeah, and other people. Yeah, there's a great actor who he's a soap opera star, and he
just
played.
Throw out some names.
I can't. Well, Chris Tracy.
Okay.
But from ages ago, he used to be in. Was it One Life to Live? I think. And I think the story is that they cast him as a fire chief, and he did some research. Being Chris, he would go and do it. And it turned out he liked being a firefighter more. And he's now chief of a fire department in Fairfield County here in Connecticut. But anyway, he's a great community guy. He's just fabulous. And his wife, also an actress and a playwright, she's in it. And their son is also has a part in Hamlet. There's the actress who's playing Lady Macbeth is going to do a hangout next week, I think, where kids are being invited to meet her to start with, ask questions about how do you prepare for a radio performance, and then they're going to get the chance to do a table reading and record themselves with Lady Macbeth.
Nice. Nice.
So that's going to happen. I can't think. I'll probably kick myself afterwards that I didn't mention somebody else, but I can't think.
I'll run it. I want to run a few people really quick. I just want to thank a whole bunch of people. First, I want to thank Annabelle for the opportunity to do this in general, because this is what Alex and I are passionate about. And the fact that we connected with Annabelle and other people, and it's just been remarkably serendipitous all around. This week in particular has been insane. Thank you, Larry Finillier. Thank you, Todd LeBeau. Thank you, Jim Schenkel, who nobody knows who this guy is yet, but my God, what an amazing, amazing human being, and I can't wait to bridge the connections that we have here. Thank you, Linda Hefferman and the School of Rock, another incredible group. Thank you, Canada Gold, another business that understands what's going on here and is making an effort to be forward-thinking. These are people that Alex and I all work with. These are people that have been watching us stumble and scramble as we get through these things. And these are businesses that have all been behind us. Kathleen Colvin, whose site I'm behind on finishing because I've been working on Macbeth Goes Social. I apologize deeply, Kathleen. We will get that thing finished up this weekend. Alex, am I forgetting anybody besides you? Alex, if I didn't have Alex, shit. Let me, where are you, Alex? Jesus, I gotta find you. This is Alex, and if I didn't have Alex, I wouldn't have an SEO-wise. There wouldn't be a brand. Nobody would know who the hell we are. She's the voice, and if you're a business and don't know what that means, that's what we can teach. So, who else am I forgetting, Alex? Do we need to thank anybody else?
Oh, geez. Not that I can think of off the top of my head. Did you mention Canada Gold?
I did. We love Canada Gold.
Okay. Not that I can think of. I mean, I personally have had I've met so many awesome people, and plus, it would be impossible to mention all of them. But
EFAT, hey, sorry about that. Forgot her too.
Yeah, EFAT. I've been talking a lot to Lee Smallwood, who has a huge following, and he's just always been so sweet to me, and he has the cutest dog ever.
That's true.
So I always have to mention him. I love Lux.
Lux
is adorable.
David Emerald, everybody that was involved in the Glass in Class. I mean, Martin Shervington, Mark Trapphagen, David Amerlin, Larry Fernelier, Todd LeBeau, and I always forget.
And EFAT.
It's a lot of the same names, but this effort, what you've seen here with Annabelle and everybody that was involved, took a long time to put together. And she wants to do more. There's more. This is just the beginning. The techniques that we used for this particular event are all in beta, okay? And they're in beta for what we're attempting to do. There's lots of people that do web broadcasting. There's lots of people that run Hangouts. Bridging the two of them in a well-produced broadcast format that can be an educational and collaborative experience all around. That's what we mess in. That's what we do, and there's very few companies that do this the way we do it. Maybe there's a good reason, but we really like what we're doing, and we want to keep doing more of it. Is there anybody out there that's made any comments or said anything that we should address, Alex?
Todd's been putting some funny things out, but I don't know if they're. Todd was nice enough to put in bigfuneducation.org. So
thank
you, Todd, for putting that in the comments. Make it easier for everyone else to find. But yeah, the rest of them are just funny comments.
Well, good.
I want to just give a little quick shout out about you two guys, because as an experience of someone who is me, introverted and shy, I was very nervous about Hangouts and really came to this quite reluctantly. I'd much rather be behind the scenes. But I realized I just couldn't stay behind the scenes. It just wasn't going to work that way. So I have to say that working with John and Alex, it's almost like that sort of experience that you get in a choral dramatic experience, where if they put you in a group with two people who are comfortable and outgoing and confident and good at something, and then they put the shy kid in there as a teacher, i.e. me, you shove the shy kid in. 3 rehearsals into it, you don't know which one was the shy one, because none of them will shut up, you know. So I just have to say that it couldn't be more of a joy or more beneficial to work with these two guys who are comfortable in their skin here on Google+. And it rubs off on you, and you suddenly go, yeah, so what if I make a mistake? You know, I am human, and I'm not fooling anyone, you know, by trying to be perfect. And so I just think that you know, if anyone has any hesitancy about going into a Hangout or whatever, these are your people. These are your people who will talk to you endlessly off air and calm you down and then work you up and then slap you sideways. And before you know it, you're in a Hangout and you're having some fun. and and things are going well for you. So yeah, these guys are the ones to work with. Absolutely.
Wow, that's a heck of an endorsement. Thank you very much.
That's so sweet. Actually, Gina Fidel, I said her last name right, said something similar. She was very hesitant of the being on video, being on camera, and she was like, "You guys made it just so easy." Probably, I thought you were gonna say, I'm not scared to mess up because they've done everything wrong, so it's okay. Because that would be true. We've literally done everything wrong.
Somewhere out there is a lot. Just go look at the old SCOY's office hours, and I mean, oh boy, I'm sure there's some stuff on there that completely defames our relationship, or our ability. I've said some bad things. I'm sure there's F-bombs out there of not even getting Wirecast to work, and the one I deleted. Yeah, the entire purpose of SCOY shows, other than getting content and having fun, is to show everybody that it's okay to completely screw up, because we have. And you can't be an authentic human being if you're always trying to pretend you're perfect. So, to me, if you were going to put one overarching beautiful, beautiful reason for doing what Annabelle is doing in here, whether it's for kids, K through 12, or everybody in the world, it's that we can all learn that we're all the same. And we can all just communicate with each other, and I don't need pretense, you don't need pretense. I'm a no bullshit kind of guy, and I love the fact that this platform pretty much facilitates the no bullshit kind of communication that we all need to just have. And yeah, I throw in a lot of expletives when talking K through 12 in education. Sorry, that's me. I realize that's probably not part of the Common Core values. Maybe not. Annabelle, do you want to add anything about, this is your plug time. If you want to talk about, what you need, sponsors, you want to talk about anything about it, just let me know. Or go for it. Say it.
Well, I have so many things to say and so many wants and needs, but something that just occurred to me is that, but I usually just focus on education. That's sort of my downfall. I don't really think of it as, in terms of getting smart about asking for things. But, there's never been a time, I don't think, where there's been more pressure on teachers. And there's never been a time with more unknowns. And teachers are having tech tools thrown at them left, right, and center. And they're under extraordinary scrutiny. And the American education system is, somewhat chaotic right now. We don't know what's going to happen with the Common Core. And how do you, on top of all of that, prepare children for a world that you have no idea what it's going to be like? You don't. How do you do that? I've got the answer for that. You keep remembering that even though the world is changing, we're still human. So teach kids to be good humans. Teach them communication skills. Teach them, the values that come out of these great stories. Stories are how humans communicate. We need to keep stories going, not just mindless questions that kids get wrong and right, We need to prepare them for the 21st century by being kids who can identify with people all around the world, because we're all human. And I think what Google Plus Hangouts do so quickly and seamlessly and without any technology or any instruction is you're just looking at another face. Yeah, they're in another country. Gosh, their English isn't quite what yours is, but you have no problem with them. I just love that. Just love it. So I think Google Plus Hangouts are going to be an essential part of preparing kids for the 21st, and more, 22nd century.
Yeah.
Because they're human, and that's what we mustn't forget. All things are changing. Technology is lovely and shiny and all of that, but what remains constant is that we're human, and we mustn't forget that. And we must develop more compassion for each other, more curiosity about each other's worlds. And I think that's what Google Hangouts really facilitate.
Wow. You just
Yeah.
gave, yeah. Woo.
You basically just said exactly what you should just teach my class in a day.
I couldn't. I didn't know what to do.
You said exactly what the one thing that I try to get my students to take out of my class. I mean, as someone who teaches communication, yeah, we have all of these awesome technologies that we use, and they keep changing and they keep developing, but what always remains is the communication factor of humanity. You cannot identify with other human beings if you're not going to communicate, and there are efficient ways to communicate and there are inefficient ways to communicate, and if you're a more critical communicator, you're going to identify with more people no matter where they are, no matter how they live, no matter what perspective they take. So, I mean, that was just beautifully said, Annabelle. That was perfect.
Oh, thanks. I don't. It just gushes out sometimes. I mean, I just do feel very strongly about this, and I just noticed that when I asked the Argentinian kids, you know, the 10-year-olds, I said, "What's a hangout?" and all of that. I said, "Why do you like them then?" They said, "Because we can meet people all over the world. There's no question of prejudice or rubbish. They want to meet people from all over the world. They're curious.
Yeah.
Let's build on that. Let's make that happen."
Wow. Gee, I'm not an educator, as I keep saying, but gee, would seem to me that promoting that kind of global communication and cooperation is really good for kids, right? Good for the planet, good for everything. That's another no-brainer. If you can't see that this openness is a good thing, wow, I don't know what to say. There are so many. I think that's what blows my mind is there are so many facets of this, so many ways in which it is valuable, right? That you just, Annabelle looks at it from an educational standpoint. Alex and I look at it from a branding standpoint. Other people look at it from a business standpoint. I mean, it's just it's immense. It's huge. And I couldn't be more thrilled that we are right now just in the heat of this soup, right? It's not, is it soup yet? It's not done. We're still cooking it, right? But what we've created so far has been phenomenal. What you have created, Annabelle, and we have been a part of has been phenomenal. And I'm going to, one last thing here, because I want to just say it. Google, I know you're listening. Hell of a good piece of PR in here. Let's get together and let's help Annabelle. Let's make this thing go bigger. I know you're watching this, and I know this is the kind of thing you back. I know this is the kind of thing you like, and if not, let's find out why. All right? Because we'd like to highlight your services, but right now I'm about to use live stream to bring Alex's Google Glass in because for some reason I can't do that with a Hangout anymore. What's up with that?
Yeah, I actually found out from Carolyn Capern today that she thinks they are going to bring it back. They just took it down to figure out some bugs and stuff. But if they don't bring it back by June, Google, we're switching.
Pretty well. We'll still use Hangouts, but I got to bring the glass in because the glass is cool. So, on that
John,
note,
I just remembered one thing to plug. Can I plug one thing?
You absolutely can. Let me set you up for it. Plug
There's
away.
I just remembered, because I saw this in the background, I put this here. When I created the plays in old-fashioned books, which used to look like that,
Okay.
along with the book came, because remember I was packaging it for non-specialists to do, along with the book came a board game, which was called, hang on, I got it the wrong way, completely wrong way. It was called Break a Leg, okay. And what happens is that teaches all the dramaturgy and the history behind each play. We don't expect the teachers to know everything. That game is a cooperative game that kids play. They get what was innovative about it, and it's sold across America and 10 other countries, by the way, when it was in paper like that. What was innovative about it was that all the kids get, what I noticed as a 5th grade homeroom teacher in New York was that the textbook that the kids liked most was the teacher's edition. Why? Because there are all the answers.
Right.
And there's all that marginalia. What are they not telling us? The kids love knowing, what are you holding back?
Right.
So I created sort of like little question and answer books that go with that game. And the kids can, if it's your turn, you close your book, and the others are reading questions and answer, reviewing the material. Do you think John knows number 27?
Right.
Yeah, I think he knows it. I think I heard him say, oh, let's read this one. They're reviewing all that information, and it takes them through the whole process of a play, from finding a script to the original place where the play was produced, to, you know, all of that stuff. And the first one to get to opening night is the winner. Well, because it has to be played face to face where kids discuss, you know, which question do we want to give, John, as opposed to a deck of cards with trivia on it, which is random and doesn't really give any educational value. It's a game that needs to be played in Hangouts.
Right.
So what I want to do is have somebody either give me the tech skills or the money to hire people to do tech skills and build a multiplayer game so that the kids, because I've got this for 8 different plays, the different books go. It's the same board because the play is always the same process. You know, starting with the script and ending up, you're giving a play to the audience. But the time is different, and you know, all of that.
Sure.
So it teaches a tremendous amount of vocabulary and process and, you know, historical background. And I want to bring it into Hangouts. I need it to be an app somehow. So that also I should note that after the kids have played that perhaps 4 times, they know all the information in there. So the next step in real life was they were allowed to write in those books. There were pages that were left with space on because the kids would write more questions. They would write their own questions and answers, and then they would carry their books with them in sets, and you would play what someone else wrote. They'd write the questions in groups. Of course, online with Google Doc type of thinking, kids could form groups, like groups that continue to play with each other, and then when they know those questions, write more, and the ones that they add could go into a general pool that any player anywhere in the world could download and add to their game if they didn't want to write them themselves, etc., etc., etc.
Right.
So I would love to see, and it's a great classroom management tool. If you've got a rehearsal going on, it's a great thing to be running in the background, kids learning this. And then they jump out when they're doing a production, go, you know what, you shouldn't be doing that because I learned when I played that game that if we're going to be authentic, da-da-da-da-da, and the teacher, new role of teacher, go, thank you, I didn't know that.
Right.
Right?
So brilliant. To sum up, Annabelle has a great game that goes along with this, but the game needs to be translated to digital. We're looking for somebody who codes with the Google API, somebody who understands the Hangout API. If you're a company that can do this and you can offer your time, lend your services, or you're a business who'd like to sponsor that initiative, there's a lot of things that can be done with that. The game can be branded. You can run advertising across it if you want that to happen. There's so many different ways, and you know there's developers that we can incorporate benefits to businesses and make this game available. Put it in a Hangout, make it useful. There's so many different ways we can do that. This is what Alex and I do. We take these two worlds and bridge them together. So if you guys can help us out, let's see if we can't find a developer out there that works with Google, that works with Hangouts, that can help us with this. We will work with you to recognize you, to grow your authority, whatever you need. And this is how it works. This is how Google works. This is how collaboration works. And Annabelle and I have talked about this game. I'm glad you brought it up because it's absolutely brilliant. The concept of instead of teaching to the test, the kids end up writing the test. Okay? And that's literally what this takes it to. Is you know, let's stop making our kids fall asleep in class and actually get them actively engaged in learning. And when they blank pages in the book, that's a no-brainer. This is Annabelle Howard. This is the kind of stuff she does. And U.S. government, one last thing. U.S. government, I always diss them and say they don't put any money into education because they don't, and we all know that they don't. Prove me wrong. Hey, Obama. Hey, Congress. Come on down. Watch this Hangout. Dump some money into Annabelle's initiative because you don't fund the bills that you put forth. So prove me wrong and actually put some American dollars into this awesome, awesome educational initiative. It ain't going to happen. So I got to rely on businesses and other people in plus. Not expecting the government to do it. Please help me, other business owners. There is a direct benefit for you. All right? So, yeah, little political there, but I had to go off on it. This is Annabelle Howard. This is all of us. I want to thank everybody that's watched. I know we've got a bunch of you out there. Everybody that was involved in the presentation this week. Everybody that's been working on it with Annabelle for a long time. I mean, that includes 30 years with her and her husband Forrest, Scholastic, a weekly reader, which was something I got out of the bookmobile as a kid. All right, so there's a lot of history here, because this is somebody and her husband who've been passionate about education for all of their lives, and here they are taking it even farther with Google and Hangouts. Macbeth Goes Social was a prototype of something that can be done over and over again, something that can be honed, that can be turned into a more efficient process, that can be rolled out to every school around the world and done in a way that benefits everybody. What we've got here is a seed. Let's help grow it into a forest. Okay. Anything you want to add to that, guys?
That was great. Thank you, John. Thanks, Alex.
All right. Any comments left in the comment area, Alex?
Besides Todd.
Hi,
Time
Todd.
to dig for bloopers. Nothing is truly deleted SEO wise. Thanks, Todd.
Oh yeah, it's in there somewhere. Well, for myself, Alex, Annabelle, SEO wise, go to Big Fun Education. Look at it. Understand what it is. Read. It's a lot more than what you just saw with the Macbeth Goes Social. Okay, there's a lot more going on there. Get involved. Be active. Reach out to us. At the very, very least, the smallest way you could help is by resharing and letting your friends and family know that this is happening, this is going on. Because the goal is to reach people that have resources that can help us, and that we can work together and help them. So this is what we do. And I'm so glad we had this opportunity to talk with Annabelle about what she does and how awesome Macbeth Goes Social was. And we look forward to talking to everybody next Wednesday, because I think we're going to try to run a show. Right, Alex?
Yes, we are. I will have picked up my sister right before that, so I don't know. Maybe she'll make a camera appearance.
Yeah? We can put your sister on the show?
Yeah, I mean, well, maybe she'll be willing to say hi at least for a little bit, and then I'll have her sit downstairs and hang out for a little bit.
All right. Whatever you want to do. Sounds good to me. So look for the potential of a Wednesday show, but it completely depends on how busy we get starting now. And then don't we have a Friday show with somebody? Dave,
I don't know.
right? Somebody?
I don't know if we have next
Oh.
next Friday planned. I think David is the Friday after that.
All right. Well, we're going to have David Amerlin. We're going to have EFAT on again. We've got all sorts of stuff going on. Right now, we're just kind of picking up the dust from Macbeth. And I've got a thing going on tomorrow. I'll be broadcasting live for a little while with Jim Schenkel. He's going to be at a place, but I don't know what it's called because I can't remember it because I had no time to prep for this. So subscribe to the SEO Wise channel. Subscribe to Big Fun Education. Help us. All right? There it is. That's the bottom line. This is John and Alex. It's the SEO Wise Office Hours Show. We'd like to thank Annabelle for joining us. And now we're going to go back to this and say goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.